It's 7 a.m. Monday morning, and Elliot is about to start his school day. He is 14 years old and was born with a condition known as charge, meaning he has no hearing or speech, learning difficulties and stunted growth. His parents, Angela and Trevor, have relocated from Kingston in order to find the best services to support him. Trevor explained how their lives have differed from most parents.
The main thing has been, I think, as he's got older, his disabilities have made him very much different to able-bodied kids, and so our role as parents has had to be different. He's become more demanding and more specialised care is required, particularly in communication, and so it's not been possible for both Angela and I to go to work full-time, which I know for a lot of parents they don't choose that, but they have the choice. We don't have that choice. Mashed up spaghetti bolognese.
Angela and Trevor have found good support networks. However, many families are not able to make the same adaptations as they have. New research done by the Papworth Trust has found that raising a child with a disability is 3 times more expensive than other children, and families with a disabled child are 4 times as likely to be out of work. This has left 40% of disabled children in the UK living in poverty. Support groups and charities now provide a lifeline for these parents, like this group called Little Hiccups based in Leeds. Parents are able to use these groups for support and a way of finding people in similar positions. The group's founder, Lindsay, told me the sacrifices she has made in raising her son, Jack, whose brain damage from birth left him unable to stand, see or speak.
In the early days, I gave up work so that I could look after him full time because Jack's life limiting. So I'm then dependent on benefits. It's not a position that I would like to be in, but Jack and his care is more important. So to me, I do whatever I need to do for Jack. We had to widen doorways to allow for his wheelchair, level access at the front of the house and the back of the house. We converted our garage into a wet room where we have a bath that's electric, goes up and down so that I'm not bending over all the time. We have ceiling hoists fitted upstairs and downstairs and a through-floor lift to get him up to bed on a night.
She explains how professional help has diminished since Jack was born and how you now have to rely on friends and family for support.
Times have changed. When my Jack was younger, you had more support from the professionals who were around you because they had a little bit more time. Support circles are very tight-knit sometimes, but hard to come by.
2/3 of disabled families struggle to access the local services they need, and 90% are worried about cuts to those services. But the government wants to try and change the dependence on the welfare system.
It's about cost saving, and there's a kind of like a really clear culture where they're saying we've got to end what they talk about as welfare dependency, and there's a question about whether that analysis is even correct. But in terms of what they're trying to achieve, particularly for disabled people, there's a massive focus on trying to get people back to work. I think their vision is just to, I'd say residualise, so just reduce the what's available in out-of-work benefits more and more and more. So they'd say, we're trying to protect the most vulnerable, we're trying to create a fair system, that's what they'd say.
The Secretary of State says that the government spends more than other countries in the OECD on supporting disabled people. He believes that support is there for those who need it and stressed the importance of getting people back into work and off state support.
I believe that support is there. For despite some of the scaremongering and some of the sillier headlines, it's worth reflecting on the fact that in this country we spend more on sick and disabled people than the OECD average. With that strong record of support for those most in need, we're also ensuring that the resources are in place to support people into work.
Essential services for disabled children are still being ring-fenced, but charities worry about the impact of other cuts, as parents with disabled children are increasingly finding the funding under pressure.
Like most local authorities, Leeds is suffering, and although they've protected the short break money, the respite, what used to be called respite, it is under pressure. Life's a bit more expensive for those parents. We'd like to think that things are the same and that sort of thing, but things like for a disabled child, it's very important for them to be able to experience things firsthand. They're not always going to pick things up from books and the television in the same way as other children would do.
Neither Lindsay or Trevor say that going back to work is an option for them. They face an uncertain future as the government plans to reform the benefit system but they feel there's a lack of understanding for their situations.
They don't walk in our shoes, and they're bloody tough shoes to wear some days.
You can end up in a position where you're on your own. It's very worrying. It's a real concern. So yeah, there certainly is a lack of provision, without a doubt.